Hello, ladies. How are you doing today? Welcome to How to Turn Climate Education into Action. My name is Sara Fuentes, and I'm the Vice Chairwoman of Women in Cleantech and Sustainability, and we welcome you this evening. Thank you for being here. Today, we are definitely going to have a great event. I want to just go through our quick agenda. So we're going to have our presentation. We're going to have a breakout session. We're going to regroup and have a share out. So please take copious notes during the breakout session so you can feel free to share out in our breakout. And then we're going to have another breakout session and then regroup and wrap up. Next slide. So a little bit about women in clean tech and sustainability. I love to talk about this organization. This year we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability is an organization that really focuses in on influencing women in the green economy and supporting them. And so thank you so much for being here. As you know, we have virtual events, so thank you for being at this virtual event. And let's get to the next slide, please. So May 27th, we have a Meet a Member and Community Launch Party. So if you are a member, please give me a thumbs up so we can see all the happy members here. Thank you for being here. If you have not signed up for this event, please sign up. And if you would love to be a member, then please go ahead and sign up. And if someone can put that in the chat on how to sign up to be a member, we would love to have you. On June 10th, we are having a decarbonization heavy industry event. And so if this is something of interest to you, go ahead and sign up. Next slide. A little bit about Zoom etiquette. We've been on Zoom now for over a year. And so we just want to say, if you can just go ahead and put your name down for networking purposes. And I do want to encourage everyone to connect with everyone here and go ahead and we could start that LinkedIn sharing in the chat room. We do want to encourage everybody to be kind to each other during the breakout rooms. And so please be present. As you can see all of our beautiful faces on the screen, if you can share and you're in a place to share, we do want to encourage you to put your camera on so we can really put that face to the name. Next slide. A little bit about our virtual membership. During COVID, we decided to transition from we had no choice actually to transition from in-person to virtual. And this year we've been allowed to, really just grow. And so we want to encourage people to invite a friend to come be a virtual member with us. So please share this announcement with your friends and your colleagues. Next slide. So I already mentioned and shared my name. My name is Sara Fuentes. I am the president and co-founder of Smart Waste. Where our core values are transparency, circularity, and people. And I have the privilege of being the vice chairwoman of this wonderful organization. And it's one of my favorite things to do. This is my hobby. It's my passion. I can't help but be obsessed. So today, if we can get to the next slide. A little bit about TerraDo, and I don't want to steal Katie's thunder in any capacity because I can't wait to hear my friend Katie talk today. We started this program around co-hosting, and so we are just excited to have TerraDo part of our event today. And TerraDo is an online climate school with the mission to get 100 million people working on climate solutions by 2030. This is an amazing goal. And so with that being said, I don't want to get too much and steal away Katie's thunder because there's no way that I can. So if we can get to the next slide so I can introduce Katie. This is my new friend. Katie Michel, she's waving at us. And she is actually here in California. We have the privilege of being in California today, and we share that together. Some of us may be calling from other places. And Katie is the communications of outreach with TerraDo. And so with that being said, I want to give Katie the platform, and she's going to be giving us a presentation today. Katie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Very happy to be here. So again, thank you for inviting TerraDo to co-host this event. I'm really psyched to share this presentation with you, and I hope that it encourages some thought and some great conversation. As mentioned, my name is Katie, and I head communications and outreach at TerraDo. and I will be giving you a quick overview of what we do, as well as leading everybody through hopefully a very interesting exercise today and getting you to think about climate impacts in your own life and in your career. Next slide. So this is just a little bit about me if you're curious. I'm currently in Sonoma County. I'm a self-proclaimed multidisciplinarian. I started in science, and then I went to arts, and then I went back to science, and then I went to communications and a little bit in between. My academic background is in environmental science and urban studies, and I am a former native plant permaculture researcher. I worked up in the state of Oregon doing conservation analysis with different salmon species in relation to their interaction with climate change and warming temperatures and things like that. And now I head communications and outreach at TerraDo, and I'm very, very happy here. And oh, I see we have another Truckee in the chat. Hey, and this is a picture of me down in San Diego holding a falcon, because I went falconing and it was the coolest thing. If post-COVID, if you get a chance to go hang out with some raptors, go do it. And it's an amazing conservation experience as well. Next slide. So first off, a quick introduction about TerraDo. What are we? What do we do? We're the world's first online climate school. And our goal is to get 100 million people working on climate solutions in one way or another by 2030. And it's a huge goal. And we're firm believers that just as climate impacts are felt globally and in every aspect of our lives, it's going to take every single sector of society working in their capacity to meet climate mitigation and adaptation goals. And what that means on the ground is that we're not just going to need scientists. We're not just going to need advocates and policymakers. We will need those people, trust me. But there is room for everyone in every single field to work on climate solutions in one way or another. And that's how we got started with our flagship course, Learning for Action. It's a 12-week boot camp on all things climate change, and it's meant to prep fellows looking to pivot their career towards climate solutions while leveraging their own personal experience and expertise in a way that most resonates with them. And what I'm doing here today is I'm really going to focus on the do part of TerraDo. Now, as a caveat, I am not going to be able to give you the end-all be answer of how should I make an impact on climate action? I don't have that answer. But what I'm hoping to do is to prompt discussion and kind of get the wheels turning in a way that everybody can start making those connections between your life and your career and how climate can fit into that. And it's probably closer to home than you think. Next slide. So what I have here is a very scary looking graph of 2,100 warming projections with a lot of numbers that don't really have any meaning out of context. So let's get to the fun stuff. What I want to do is I want to get beyond the data, beyond the numbers, beyond the graphs, and make it really concrete for everyone. And as I mentioned, my background is in environmental science. So I do want to challenge you a little bit scientifically so that you can create those conversations and look at specific climate impacts that you might already be seeing or you might start to see in your own life. And then I want to take it one step further, and I want to look at the responses to those impacts, both on a personal level and on a career level and even a local or a regional level. I know that a lot of us are in California, so we might have similar responses. But as we go through this exercise, maybe start to think about where your family is from instead of where you are right now, or if you're in the Bay Area. Maybe think about your favorite place to visit, like Hawaii or Europe, or a place that's really important to you. And then after we talk about that, I want to connect to the loop, so to speak, and have everyone share their thoughts and there's connections between what we're facing and think about, maybe there is something that I can do about this. Because like we said, climate action is for everyone. Next slide. So let's take a step back from the data. Let's leave that aside for right now. And let's look at what climate change could mean for your work. The first step is learning, right? And of course, I'm a little bit biased because I am with TerraDo, and I think our Learning for Action course is amazing if you want to look for a deep dive into climate change. But hopefully today's exercise will kind of like get the ball rolling, so to speak. And I will be linking the free resources that I have attached at the end of the presentation. So once you've got the ball rolling on learning, the next step is making sense of it all. Just trying to understand, how do these connect to each other? Climate change is such a huge issue. It can be really overwhelming. But it's also a really great opportunity, because working on one area might actually be solving a problem that you never even thought about. And of course, that is much easier said than done. And I also like to say that connecting and networking is a really great intermediate step that does wonders when you're at a stage when you found a problem to work on, but you aren't quite ready to do the jumping in sort of phase. And connecting with professionals in any field, finding a mentor, attending mixers like this, finding peers, they're all going to open up your climate bubble and your perspective to projects and ideas and collaborations that you probably didn't even know about. And that, combined with continued learning, is really the catalyst to getting your career pivoted towards climate solutions. So if you look around the Zoom gallery, there might be some future coworkers in the house right now. Who knows? Next slide. All right, so what I have here is I have a map of projected climate impacts across the US, and the link should be in the chat if somebody could throw it in there. And the key takeaway with these data is not only are climate impacts going to be global, but the severity, the cause, the response to these impacts, it means that the whole story is very long and very complicated, but most importantly, very specific to where you are. So let's try to take these still kind of vague consequences and give them some real world application. I've gone ahead and pulled up Sonoma County. That's where I live. That's where I'm from. And we've got wildfires, we've got flooding, we've got drought, we've got heat risks. And I'm pretty sure I've seen all of it in the last 12 months, believe it or not, kind of back to back. But you know, when I think about these impacts, I'm not just thinking about the fires. I'm thinking about how it affects what I do in my everyday life, how it affects my friends and my family in their work in the major industries around here, wine and tourism. You know, the county runs on that. How it affects public health and air quality. I don't know if we have any other asthmatics in the house, but it gets pretty bad. What impacts it has to the construction and the building industry, to urban planning, to social justice. The list just goes on and on. But what does that mean for me? I'm looking at these and I don't even know where to start. So just start to break it down. If I were in the wine industry or very interested in the wine industry, maybe that looks like I'm starting to explore the concept of biodynamic wines or sustainable wines or regenerative agriculture. Or if I were in construction, maybe, you know, I don't even know if this exists. Maybe there's fire-resistant building techniques that could be utilized, or architecture that's particularly resistant to fire. But if I don't have anything related to those climate industries, which I'm not in construction and I'm not in wine, think of it this way. Every part of the economy is going to be affected by climate change. So that means that every industry is going to have some company where you fit in. For example, are you in marketing? Solar panels don't sell themselves. Product design, carbon sequestration organizations need websites too. Education, we need to spread climate knowledge more than ever. So there is always, always, always an opportunity. You just need to start thinking about where to find them. Next slide. Okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm gonna stop talking your ear off, and I'm going to turn it back over to you. And in our breakout rooms, I would love if we could spark up a conversation, sharing the climate impacts that you might be facing or ones that you think you might face. And I really want to focus on, is there anything that's similar between you and your group mates, even if you're talking about wildly different places? What solutions do you think we have or maybe have already seen? Is there something that we can learn from the way that people in India handle flooding and apply that to New Orleans, or vice versa? So that's what I really want to get going here, is to look beyond the climate science of the problem and think, how does this affect me socially, economically, personally? And of course, if you're not quite sure how to do that, I do have these links in this slide, and hopefully we can get those in the chat if they're not already. And yeah, I will turn it back over to you to get us into those breakout rooms.
All right, I'm about to send you all on your way. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. We were having such a good conversation, and I just want to kick us off real quick, and then I'm going to ask our facilitators to help share out. I was in the group with Lainey, Jackie, Cassidy, and Genevieve, and one of the things that we talked about is to stay current is podcasts, is, and also one thing that Cassidy said is to we get inundated because some of us are in this space. And so we get inundated every day with this newsletter, with this highlight, with this breakout news. And sometimes it could be a little daunting. And how do we stay current? Well, we had some really cool information from Genevieve that shared about this app called Pocket that you can download these newsletters and then you can hear it on a walk. So, Genevieve, throw that in the chat. We talked about some cool podcasts, so please share any podcasts in the chat. So please go ahead and share that. Any facilitators that would like to share what they're talking about in their breakout room? Who would like to go first? Katie.
Hey everyone. So we talked a little bit in my group. We had Allie O'Donnell and we also had Maria Patino. Maria is a marine environmentalist educator in the Bay Area. I hope I said that right, Maria. But we actually talked about a lot of things that are happening more local to us and things that we can do. And so Maria, being an educator, we asked her, what's one piece of advice that you give to your students that we can take with us? And she said, actually, it's not really anything about science, but it's keep yourself hopeful and make sure that you're literally just a good human being. And the more that we learn, the more that we educate others from the learnings we have, we can make small differences that will get us to where we need to be in the future. So I thought that was a really inspiring motivational quote from her. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Our group, I was in group 1. I'm sorry, I can't remember everybody's name. I feel so bad. But we started talking about the circular economy. And we're talking about plastic waste and how it's so pervasive everywhere. But it's also very different everywhere, from e-waste to particular counties have all these different rules and how we could kind of start to think about that, because it's a big problem. And it might seem like a little bit overlooked. Everybody knows that you need to recycle, but then you don't think about the CO2 impact of your recycling, from it going from where your house is to the recycling center. And then there's a whole new set of problems that we need to solve. So that's what my group was talking about.
All right. Any other facilitator that would like to share while Leah's getting us ready for our next breakout session?
I can share out real quick. So I was in a group with Lisa, Ann Oakley, and Joy, and we kind of started talking about regenerative agriculture, and we were talking about connecting the dots as consumers, which is really important in not only educating, but kind of re-educating ourselves and thinking about how we can go forward with these new methods and things like that. So I thought it was a really great conversation about thinking also not just about our generation, but future generations, and being more thoughtful about our actions today for a future tomorrow.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Hey, it's Amanda. I can go really quick. So was in a group with Annalise, Jessica, Anshuman, and Grace. And we had a great conversation kind of talking about how we can accelerate innovators in this space, but also how we value education before just coming up with a solution right away. And I know we had already mentioned social media and podcasts, but for us, that's a really great way to kind of digest information that's happening because there's so much going on right now that even just following a Twitter account or some companies that you're really interested in is just kind of a good way to absorb the information on a day-to-day basis. And even Instagram hashtags, that's what I do. And it's just a really nice way to kind of incorporate your learning on a day-to-day without having to go too far out of the way.
All right. Any other facilitators that would like to share So I have to say that around, when you decide to be a change agent, and this is something that is really, I would consider everyone in this room one of those individuals that's a change agent, that where we want to take this education and make an impact and change something, or whether it's influencing people. And so the next prompt that we're going to talk about is, now that you look at these climate impacts through your personal lens, does your field of work interact with these cause solutions to these issues? Where do you see an overlap with what you do and what others do in your group? So we're going to have this conversation. And Leah, are we ready to go into our next breakout session?
We are ready to roll. All right. I will put you in your rooms. If you can, feel free to pop back in and out, and I'll put you back in the room. Anyways, all right. Bye.
Welcome back. We'll just give it another couple seconds for the rest of people to join us, but hope you guys had a good discussion.
We did. Yeah, I guess we actually got out a few seconds earlier. I thought it was ending right away. I'm like the one person that hasn't used Zoom very often.
Oh yeah, you're a Ciscoer.
Yeah, WebEx. Did WebEx for 10 years and then just started using Microsoft Teams. So I'm like, I just found out how to do like a Zoom background. Like I live in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, yet I don't know how to use technology.
I have to say WebEx is so much better than Teams. I'm sorry, Teams is not a teacher-friendly platform. I had to do it for like a month in February and I hated it. But WebEx is good.
Teams is not it.
I'm glad
my
like
old company switched from WebEx to Teams.
Mm-hmm.
It was unpleasant.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If we have, yes, we do have some gentlemen. Hello. So very juicy conversation. I feel like every time the conversation starts to get really juicy, we get pulled out. So, I want to ask Cassidy real quick to say her action item, if she can, real quick. If you could jump on for me.
Yeah. So I was kind of saying before that I feel really helpless. Like, obviously we do our individual actions, but the majority of emissions come from corporations, and, it won't matter unless corporations change their practices. And I participated in a webinar yesterday that was a People's Coalition, and it was a couple of weeks before BlackRock's annual meeting. I don't know if anyone happened to also attend that webinar yesterday, but it was really impactful because one of the action items they had us do, and it was like 300 of us on this webinar, we all went on to BlackRock's Google page and left a 1-star review with copy about how they're hypocrites because they have trillions of dollars in fossil fuels, and we just drove down their reviews. And I thought, that corporations do look at Google reviews, they look at Yelp reviews, all those things. So that could be an action item for us all to make some change on the corporate level.
Yeah, so those hypocrites out there that we know about, I think that's a pretty good action item, to kind of to hold them accountable. That's the thing, is that, we have to hold the corporations accountable. We hold ourselves accountable. Everyone in this room, we are accountable for our actions and our purchases and the things that we do. What other facilitator would like to share?
I can go.
Hey, Curti.
So, hi, we had Lisa Ann, Priscilla, Grace, and Ali in our room, and we were just talking about localizing impacts of climate change. And I think Lisa made a great point that you've got to be on someone else's map. It's just about making sure that local connect really, really happens. And it's also just about connecting the dots between all these different parts of your life, right? Your food, where it comes from, and to how climate's going to impact all of that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Curti. Anyone else? Another facilitator that can share?
I can share. So we had some pretty awesome women in our group. We had Genevieve Nowicki, hope I'm saying that right. We had Christina Goyen, and then we got Katie as well. And so all these women are doing amazing things. And so Genevieve, she actually she campaigned for the clean energy for Obama and is now also doing clean energy for Biden, which is moving to clean energy for America. So she definitely has climate action going on, and she said that they need volunteers. So if anyone wants to sign up, then feel free to message her. And then Christine, she has a really, she's really good at connecting people. So connecting people that she might have met months or years ago, nuggets in her back pocket where she's like, oh, this could, like, connecting the dots, right, for job opportunities to help champion sustainability and clean tech, which is cool. And then Katie, actually, she said that she's a geek with geography and maths, and her kind of climate action was neat, and she actually found out like what marine wildlife flourish in like specific parts of the Northern Pacific, and then actually like did some data analysis and whatnot for that to see what areas need to be protected the most. So a lot of really cool stuff going on in our group.
Wow, that's awesome. I really like that. And we definitely have some time for some more people to share. So would another facilitator like to share what went on in their group? Because I really like this conversation. So I think we need to keep it going.
Hey, yeah, it's Amanda. I'm happy to share for our team. So I had Oakley, Kim, and Maria, and we were talking about habit changes and, you know, how we live our day-to-day life and how we can kind of lead by example, but also not put an overwhelming amount of pressure on ourselves or folks that we know to, you know, completely change overnight. Like it's baby steps, because we have to make sure that our actions are also sustainable. And then we were talking about some really cool resources, and Oakley had mentioned a podcast, and also like recycling, like calling your local recycling plant and figuring out what to do with waste, because it's different for every single area. And I had shared a story of, I just moved and, you know, this is my field. I work in this on the day to day, and I had a bunch of boxes that I needed to get rid of. And it took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to even figure out where to bring those boxes. And the accessibility of information is really tough. And, you know, how do we share that with the folks that we know? And we were talking about some cool podcasts, Oakley. I think it's called What the Hell Do I Do With This? And it's, you know, how do you recycle? How do you get rid of your waste? So I think also making information fun for people to absorb it and have it resonate with them, rather than just throwing out terminology that doesn't, you know, really reside and they can't really, you know, relate to it on a day-to-day is another kind of way to get through to people. But really it kind of all stems with habit changes and how do we take it every day at a time.
I definitely agree with you around the making it fun and habit changes. One of our mottos, and Lisa Ann can back me up here, that at WCS, that's what we want to do. We want to make this fun. We want to make, this is one of the reasons why we did these virtual happy hours at the beginning of COVID, because we didn't have a way to connect. And so part of making things actionable and people to kind of recruit people is really making it fun. And sometimes people aren't going to really realize until they see you having fun, and then they have this what is that, fear of missing out, right? So, you know, we can be those people, those change agents, that we're having fun. Not only are we having fun, but we're making an impact and we're making the environment better. I don't know about you, but that's like a triple whammy. And so this is what I love about this conversation, is definitely fun. That's like a hype buzzwords for me. Like you could probably feel my energy getting up higher, because I was like, this is amazing. This is one of my favorite words. Anyone else? You definitely want to keep it going.
I'm happy to share from my group. It was me and Ellie and Simone and Priya. And our conversation around action actually quickly turned into finding out ways to help each other with our goals and where we were at. So it was very in the moment, real-time action. And Simone also shared, she works for Marin Sanitary District, her ambition to sort of just get everyone in the Bay Area to be composting, because they have green bins and they should be doing it already. So that was also very tangible, and wanted to share that as well.
I love that. I love composting. It's one of my favorite things. If I can get everybody in my house to compost right, I would be like the winner of the century. It's like that. What's that comment saying? Prophet doesn't get any respect in their own home. So, you know, but definitely we want to talk about little things like this. And I really like that you brought up around helping each other, because at the end of the day, the reason why we do what we do is because of people. And how can we help each other and influence each other, and also help each other with their climate goals or their sustainability goals and in their business. And this is like one of the core functions of Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability. With that being said, I think we have a time for one or two more people to share out, and then we will get back into closing the event. So anyone else like to share?
This is Lisa Ann. Sarah, I'll piggyback on what you were saying before. It's about meeting people where they are, and everybody wants to be inspired, and ultimately they want to have fun, right? Most of us don't want life to feel like work. So the more we make the climate movement an inspirational experience and less of you're going to have to sacrifice part of your life or what you want to have to save the planet, right? It's humans don't operate that way. We are very egocentric. What's in it for me, right? So the more we can encourage people to look at their lives and make even small steps, that's enough. If all of us made small steps and focused on what's the one thing that inspires you. You feel inspired by reducing your plastic waste? Great. You feel inspired by composting? Great. You feel inspired by, changing politics? Great. Go for it. And if all of us just focused on the thing that is core, that fuels us individually, not worry about doing everything, because one person can't take on the world. It requires all of us working together towards a vision.
I couldn't have said it any better. And this is one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk to Katie today about TerraDo's mission. And Katie, can you reiterate that mission so we can work collectively together towards your goal? Because to close out our conversation today, I want to remind everybody of what your goal is.
Yeah, our goal as an organization is to get 100 million people working on climate solutions that are relevant to them by 2030. Big goal.
Big goal.
Very big goal.
and at Women in Clean Tech, we like to go big. We love dreaming big. We love doing big things and making big impact. And so this is one of the things that I love about our organization is partnering and co-hosting with organizations like TerraDo that have big goals. So thank you again, everyone, for being with us today. Katie, did you want to talk about this last slide here?
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap up a little bit. I've heard so many amazing conversations and ideas and passion from everybody here. And I just wanted to kind of bring it all back together and, remind everyone that there is no career path that is the end all be all to climate solutions. It happens with what you're passionate about. It happens with what you're good at, what you're an expert in, what you're like, I am so fantastic at coding. If you get excited about managing people, then you can manage people to work on climate. You don't have to be a climate science expert. A little bit helps, but not an expert. So I wanted to iterate that, and I've seen that in all of the groups that I've talked to today, that passion and that drive, and wanting to take that individual action and bump it up a notch into career action, which is super cool. And again, education is definitely the first step, getting away from that big wall of data that tends to hit you when you look at climate change, and getting into the nitty gritty, finding out where you could fit in your niche, how that's connected to other things that are important to you in your area. And then stepping back and saying, oh, this kind of makes sense now. The climate change world it's all connected, and I kind of get it. And the best way to bridge those two, having that idea and that passion, and then having that education, if you combine that with connection and networking, perfect bridge. You're on your way. Meeting the mentors and the peers and the advisors and, the future startup leaders with you and, the seed funders, like that's how it's going to happen. It's going to happen through networking. So I did have one more slide. This is just, if you'd like to take it further, I got to give TerraDo a little plug. And again, I want to take a minute to thank WCS for inviting me. I'm very, very happy that I got to speak today. And I hope that it did spur some action. Maybe you'll do some Googling after this. Maybe we've made some good LinkedIn connections. But I just wanted to leave this here. If you are looking to take a next step, I would definitely recommend our own blog. We've created it to be a free resource on sort of everything getting started in climate careers, from personal stories from our mentors and people that have transitioned to climate work, to, hey, I don't even know what this is. What's green hydrogen? Is that a thing? I'm in energy. How can I do that? And I'd also highly recommend checking out our newsletter. It's called The Climate Switch. We like to call it a little daily dose or a little bite-sized bit of climate know-how. Kind of gives you something to think about during the day. And of course, we do have our wonderful courses. And our course, Climate Change Learning for Action, is starting on the 17th with the deadline being on the 11th. And of course, we do have these wonderful events like the ones that we're here at today. So please do stay in touch. I am the person behind the social media account, so come by and say hi on Twitter or on LinkedIn. We always love new friends. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much. So just final wrap up. If you would like to come and to meet a member, please join us on May 27th. And next slide, please. And we have some upcoming courses that TerraDo wanted us to share. So please go ahead and take a snapshot of this or a screenshot so you can check them out and follow up with them. And then we want to thank all of our beautiful and wonderful volunteers. Thank you so much. I don't know if you know this, but everyone in our organization except for a few of our paid staff are all volunteers. The board members are volunteers. All of our day of event volunteers and committee member are volunteers. And so we really appreciate them, and we would not be where we are without them. So thank you for supporting us and giving us your hard work. Last slide, please. Please join us on the virtual world. Connect with us, connect with TerraDo. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I did share my LinkedIn, and I hope you met your networking goals tonight. See you at the next event.